Viva la Dungeon!
Hello, Dungeon fans. I'm Kevin from Level 9, and welcome to the very first episode of Viva la Dungeon. This will be every Tuesday night. What I'll be doing is covering cool indie role-playing and storytelling games and kick-ass adventures. At least for the first season. We'll see how this goes. Hammerman, thank you for joining, bud. First up, we are going to discuss a cool little storytelling game I found last year called Dialect. I got a little... First, I'm going to hit you with just a little bit of poetry to set the game up, all right? We die. That may be the meaning of life. But we do language. That may be the measure of our lives. A little bit of poetry by Toni Morrison. That kind of sums up the vibe of this game. It's pretty sweet. So Dialect is a storytelling game. No, you're Hammer? Oh, I'm Hammer. Wait, who's Hammer? Don't hurt me, Hammer. You probably hear that a lot, though. Sorry. Dialect. So a storytelling game versus a role-playing game. If you're not familiar, a storytelling game is GM-less. There's typically no dungeon master. And it's a group of people who sit around trying to make the best story they can, basically. And you could say the same from a role-playing game, except the role-playing game's mechanics are all based around leveling up, progressing a character, and experiencing the world in different ways, whereas a storytelling game, all the mechanics in the game are based on pushing the narrative, crafting the narrative together. And like I said, you don't play with a GM, you're like a group of people sitting down, and you have a game, a bunch of mechanics that you use to try to craft a really cool story. Dialect. Let's start off with what. So Dialect, you need about a group of friends, 3 to 5. Hopefully someone who's got some imagination. Dialect itself comes in this cool little hardcover book, and it comes with a cool deck of cards too. They're really tasty. This whole book, I was really impressed because I was able to pick this up for $20 at a convention. I was super impressed. It won a couple awards last year. I wasn't able to track down what those were, but I think they were indie role-playing game awards. But it's got a really tasty little design to it going on here. The way I'm gonna do this going forward is I'm not gonna, hey, Precious Paul, thanks for joining me, buddy. I'm not gonna just sit here and blabber at you about a game, and I will offer my thoughts on games, but I'm not going to critique them. What I like to do is maybe we'll just play a little bit. You know what I mean? You can join in if you want, or I'll just play it a little bit. You know how I do. This one will take like 3 hours, so we won't play a whole game. We're just going to play enough so you get a vibe for what it's like. Let's see. So yeah, 3 to 5 people for the best. You got a deck of cards, you get some index cards, and like you're ready to rock a cool one shot for like 3 to 4 hours. Dialect is a game about an isolated community. We will sit down at a table and we will decide on the backdrop, the setting for an isolated community called the isolation. All right. And the game's about the isolation, the language we create, and then what it means for that language to be lost. So the first order of business is to choose a backdrop. The book comes with a ton of backdrops scenarios. Everything from this one's like their opening one. It's called The Outpost. They tell you to start there, and you're the first colony on Mars. There were supposed to be more coming. Oh, hey, what am I doing? Hey, how you doing? All right, there we go. I had music for this. I should have chose worse music. All right. Okay, so you're the first colony on Mars. More were supposed to come. Years pass. No one else from Earth comes. Communication breaks down. We're on our own. And that's the setting. Colony on Mars. Another setting in the book, as an example, is Toy Box Tales. I thought was pretty cool. It's just like Toy Story, where you imagine yourselves are a bunch of toys that your whole world revolves around this one child that comes and plays with you. Other than that, you're on your own. And what kind of language do we come up for all the different things that happen in our lives without the kid and with the kid? I had a thought of a backdrop on my own. I was like, I couldn't get it out of my head, so I decided we'd kind of roll with it. Because anybody who else I show this to probably won't really get this, but this is good for this show. We tonight are going to be a isolated community of were-rats who live, a small pack who've always have lived their whole lives together, small, like, 3 or 4 or 5 people sitting around the table who live in the sewers beneath a small or large medium-sized town. We'll say medium-sized town, medieval town. Just trying to survive, right? So that's our backdrop. Now, the first thing you do once you've settled on the backdrop is we define what they call aspects. There's going to be 3 aspects, and these are like the pillars that define our lives, major traits that we kind of rally around. I've made these up. I made these up because the backdrops in the book all supply 2 aspects, and then as a group, we're all supposed to come up with our a third aspect based on what we know and kind of how we feel. So our 3 aspects are, you write them down on a index card. Our first one is we're sewer kings. Underneath the town, we rule. We are top of the food chain when it comes to the sewers. Regular rats, lizards, toads, slimes, everything bows to our little pack. We rule absolutely in the sewers. Our second aspect, though, is slum savvy. We rule in the sewers, but we don't necessarily rule above ground. Now, we're rats, right? So we turn human, too. We turn human, and that's how we interact with the humans above us in the town. But in the town, we're not the best at being humans. We dwell in the darkness. We're slum savvy. We do petty crime to get our food and things, and we're not above doing something a little dirty and nasty to get what we need for the pack. But we're slum savvy. We survive up there. But there we depend a little bit more on our other contacts up there in the underworld. Maybe we do jobs for different guilds and stuff. And in our third aspect, and this is the one we would all decide together, but I came up with the deep. Well, where there is above, there is below. There are parts of the sewer that the pipes go that we do not dare tread. We had learned long ago that there's forbidden things and things that we don't want to mess with, scary things. And so it's kind of an unspoken rule among us that we don't venture, especially alone, into the deep. So those are the 3 things that kind of rule our lives. The above, our kingdom, and what's below. So once we have our aspects kind of defined, and those, we write them on index cards, and we set them up like a kind of a triangle in the middle of us on the table. Then we've got what they call community questions. And this is where we kind of discuss and flesh out our community just a little bit more. And the backdrops all list a bunch of questions, and then it's one per person. And we ask, and the whole group kind of decides on it. And these are things like, how have we marked the sewers as our own? And I don't know. How would we have marked the sewers as our own, as a pack of were-rats kind of rule them? Do we... Is it as easy as, right, absolutely, urine. Urine, but and maybe not just like pissing on the wall or in a corner. Maybe we get a little crafty with it. Maybe we draw on the walls with it, or I like that. We make little markings. Some of the more creative ones of us make more elaborate carvings, but maybe they're like hobo signals that we make with our own urine or something. But it's all smell. It's all you can smell it all, right? It's like hobo signs with urine. I don't know how that works. Maybe it depends on what you piss on. Maybe if you piss on a certain mushroom, it's this. If you piss on a certain the smell that it creates after that and leaves lingers is something. Another question is, how are major decisions made within our little pack? Are we democratic? Do we vote? Raise a paw? Raise a hand? Do we... A good question is, do we go human in the sewers at all, or are we always like that weird place in between? The music? Hey, Spooky. Hey, I want to tell you, Spooky, you're always on too early for me. I'm always at work, and I was like, someday I'm going to come visit you, by the way, while you're painting and stuff. The let's see what else we got. So how are I don't know how major decisions are made for the group. Maybe there's just one of us that's butch enough, like the alpha who he or she makes all the decisions. I think it would be blind voting. Oh. Yeah, right. Blind voting, like, because there are alphas, but not like maybe one, not alphas, but maybe there's one, but maybe it's not like a. Yeah, right on. We'll say that they do a blind vote. We turn away from each other, and maybe we drop stones. We have these awesome little stones that one of us was able to scavenge one time. That are they're like real. They're like not very expensive little stones, but they're precious to us. Maybe they're little rune stones and stuff, and we use them to if we put them in the bag. And if there's, you either put it in the bag or you don't put it in the bag. And then we pass it around. We all will maybe turn around. Maybe some of us do it while they're looking at the group. We'll do it out in the open. Others will turn around and act like they're putting one in or not putting one in. And then when it comes back to the person who started the vote, he opens up the bag and counts how many stones. And if there's, more than or you know what I mean? Like, if there's more than the half of however many of us, then that's what happens, whatever the question is. Then, last question. What is the biggest threat to our way of life? Huh. I think we're completely surrounded by threats to our life, but we've managed them. The humans don't like coming down in the sewers. They're not savvy enough to understand that diseases are down there, but people do get sick if they go down there, and they're afraid of what's down there, which will play into something else I got going on in just a second. I don't know, what do you guys think would be the biggest threat to our way of life? Can you hear the music, by the way? I want to get the right balance between just enough. Okay, so... Oh. Spook. So, the game Dialect, I'll just go back really quick. We're actually starting the play. We're describing an isolated community, and we're kind of setting the groundwork. The three aspects of our little isolated community, and we rule the sewers, we're slum savvy above because we're rare rats, and we're scared of what's in the deep. But you fucking hit it. It is definitely the biggest threat to our way of life is resources. There's not enough. We have to rely on our wits to steal everything we can from above and not get caught. There's not a whole lot of food in the sewers. We live on mushrooms, and we're scared as hell of the deep. What goes farther out. Came in around B, right? Okay, so once we've talked about some of these aspects of the community all together, we name our isolation. And the name I'm going to give us is those above are always afraid of what lies beneath. We beneath. So our name of the community is the Neath. That's what we call ourselves. This is one example of how you start building a language together around about this community. So the Neath. We beneath. Then, okay, so once we have that community kind of thing, then we start going around the table making characters. So there are characters in this. We all are going to play a role in the community. I'm going to put those here. On the side of the screen. First thing we do is, out of our little deck of cards here, we draw what's called a voice or archetype. For this game, we're gonna draw 3 as if there's 3 of us playing, And what you do, well, we'll start with the first one just so we get a feel for what it is. So the first one's Scrounger. And it's kind of like, it's not your class. It's kind of what defines you. You're a Scrounger. Something's in short supply here. We rely on you to provide whatever scraps of it we can get. People talk to you about getting what they need. And it says down here in red is a little bit more the mechanics. You identify with two of the aspects. One of our aspects is causing the scarcity. So the Scrounger, I'm thinking, would identify with the sewer kings and the slum savvy aspect. The Scrounger is very practical. It's going out. He's going out. He or she is going out to get the food and the other things we need. They're good at going above ground, turning human and finding that stuff, and they're good at searching the sewers for the right mushrooms and the right animals to kill. One of our aspects is causing the scarcity, and I'm thinking it's the one that would be most active in doing that is this one. Is the not sewer kids, I'm sorry, slum savvy. So the aspect of it's getting harder and harder. Something's changing in the town above, and it's getting harder and harder for us to get food. The next person is the protector. Steadfast and secure, you're the shield that guards the isolation, either from outside or within. People talk to you about safety. You identify with all but one aspect. You fear the remaining one. All right, I think this is the same. He identifies with all the first two, but he doesn't identify with the deep, and he's afraid of it. He's afraid of what's going on because he can't. He or she cannot. He doesn't know. Can't defend against what they don't know about. Okay, so that would make a lot of sense. And then finally, there's the magician. No one understands how you can accomplish what you do. You have your secrets. People talk to you when they're exhausted, when they've exhausted all rational options. You identify with only one of the aspects. Your secret lies within it. So we can kind of guess where we're going to go with the magician, right? Magician identifies with the deep, because people don't really understand him, just like people don't understand the deep. And his secrets, however he does whatever, is accomplished in the deep. So what you would do is each person would get one of these cards, and then you would name them, give them a nickname, and then you would talk about the character a little bit and how people should interact with them. So we'd give names to the Scrounger, a name to Protector. Magician, we'd be like this. He's found little runes that he's able to duplicate, and little things he's able to say that he's found in the deep, and no one knows how. And maybe that player doesn't reveal what it is that or this secret, but maybe he's found a little temple to something or something in the deep that he kind of goes and has made a little deal with a little imp somewhere deep and farther out, and that gives him little cantrips to cast and shit like that he comes back and tries to help the crew with. But the Protector's maybe a little bit suspicious of him, but they're a family, so it's not going to be a problem necessarily, not yet. So once we have our characters, we've kind of all identified, introduced them to the group. We start playing. Playing is pretty easy. You have these cool cards. Everybody's going to get dealt these story with a 1 down here. There are 3 ages. The game's played over 3 ages, by the way. Basically, what happens is each person takes a turn, and then the next age happens. Everybody takes a turn, next age happens, and then there's a final kind of round table called the Legacy, where we kind of describe what happens after. And as each age goes, from the beginning, first age on, there starts to be foreshadowing of something's coming and something's happening. And then we're going to play out that something does happen. Pretty much the downfall of our community happens. And then we talk about what happens to our characters after that and the group as a whole. And that kind of brings everything to a close. And then we walk away from the table having created a language, and I'm going to show you that in just a second, that only we know. And then once we leave the table, it's gone. So once you have your characters, we start the gameplay. Everybody's dealt, I think, was it 3 cards? I think, or like 5. No, I think it's 3 cards. It's 3 cards. So you will sit there and you'll have a hand like this. On your turn, the first thing you're going to do is going to make a connection. What that means is you're going to look at your cards. So I got unit of time, death, and work. Let's start with the unit of time. Unit of time, an important unit of time in the isolation, tied to our routines, environment, or whatever defines the rhythm of our days. A plan is made, it says down in the red. So the first thing you do is you're going to make a connection. What you're going to do is you're going to choose one of these. You're going to connect this up here to one of your aspects. All right? That's called making the connection. Then you're going to make a word based off that connection. And then I'll get into what you do next, but that's not all of your turn. So what we're going to do is I've kind of looked ahead a little bit, obviously. So I was thinking unit of time. And what I would do, I'd play unit of time on Sewer Kings. The sewers are always dripping. Drip, drip, drip. And it comes at for some reason, it's the same rhythm everywhere you go. You can hear the same drip, drip, drip. So we have tied the drip to that's the rhythm of our days. That's the time. It takes 2 drips or 3 drips. Now I thought I had a different word than just drip, but at this point, okay. Anyway, I made the connection. I'm not making the word yet. You don't make the word. You make the connection first. You go, okay. The sewers are always dripping. So this is tied to the aspect 2, unit of time. The sewers are always dripping. We use the drips to time what we're going to do. We count them. There are units of time. All right, so there, I made the connection. Then we build a word. Now, building a word's cool because it's like you can use a word that is like, we could very well say drip. Or we could dig a little deeper, you know what I mean, and use something that kind of like the neath is like we take away beneath and say neath. But you'd also make up your own fucking word. The book's got a couple pages on creating a brand new word, all the different syllables, and just creating something crazy like scuzzle tut or something to mean what you want. You can definitely do that. For this, drip, jeez, drips, rips, rips. I think D might be, D is an easy word to say when you're human, but not so easy to say when you're half rat. So, maybe the D gets lost in the sewer and it's rips, rips, rips. So there's a little bit of a P. They can get a little bit of the P out. So rips, 3 rips, 3 rips. So, rips is our word. Unless anybody's got any other thought, please chime in. Once we have our word, we look down to the bottom, a plan is made. Now we're going to have a conversation, and it's up to the person whose turn it is. They can be involved in this or they can choose, but they have to choose 2 players. It doesn't have to be themselves. And say, okay, you're going to have a conversation where a plan is made, and you're going to use this word as part of it. And then those 2 players talk about, okay, first they decide where they are, what they're doing. Okay, let's say we're planning a raid. It's a little bit daring. We're planning a raid on the little church that's up above. We usually don't mess with it. We know that there have been some sick people and they've been hoarding food. Maybe the priest is big and fat and he's been hoarding food. And usually we stay away from the church, like we do all the places where where regular humans congregate. But food's been scarce. We've been having trouble in our usual places, and maybe food's scarce in the village, obviously too. So we're deciding we're going to plan a little raid on that. And so the 2 players, based on who they are, like it would probably be the Scrounger, and then it would be fun is the Scrounger and the Magician. And the Scrounger and the Magician, based on who their characters are, would start talking about what they're planning, and then start playing it out in the voices of their, not necessarily they don't have to do voices, but in the voices and the tone of their character, using the word Ritz. So on 3, and then we signal on 2 rips, and so on. And then they would also incorporate any of the other words that any of the other words we've come up in the course of the other turns. So that's how a turn will go. Once that conversation's done, once it feels like, and you want to make the scene kind of punchy. You want to make something's happened. Maybe it's not they've made the plan, or it actually says the plan is made. So that could be the whole thing where they're just talking about how they're going to break into this church and grab all the food, and use language, and then you're done. Once you kind of feel like you got the scene, you guys kind of played it out, then the turn's over, and the next person plays a turn. Death would have been a really cool one. Our language for ultimate loss. Like, what are the were-rats? What do they call death? And then the scene is letting go. So you'd have to play out something's happened to somebody or something. And how does that word play into that? Once everybody's taken a turn in the first age, then you choose a transition. Every backdrop comes with 2 paths of transitions, depending on, and you've got to make a choice between the 2. And usually what they are is something soft, like a soft kind of foreshadowing that lead to something. For us, it'd be, one of them could be, what was I thinking? It would be, there were 2 paths would make a lot of sense. One, our food's scarce and we don't want to talk about it because we fear deep down, and we want to think about it ourselves, that something's been coming from the deep and coming up and stealing our food. And maybe this first transition is we found yet another little bit of proof that leans more towards that. Like, we had suspected it, but the protector and the group had said, no, it's nothing from the deep. Don't worry. It's getting lost. Maybe other rats are eating it. But something's left, or maybe there's scratches in the wall or something, or sound, and we know something's coming up from the deep. That's one transition. We could pick that path. Or the other path is from the top. Maybe new people have come to the town. New priests type people who are walking through the streets at night telling people to go to bed, and kind of policing. And maybe there's been snatches of words like disease and cleansing has been going on. So we'd pick one of those 2, and then we'd start the next, and because of that, we'd evolve one of our aspects. Which would make sense. So if it was that top one where there's where's the slum savvy, we'd evolve the aspect to be something, how do you evolve? It's an interesting concept because it makes sense. Like, if there's these new priests and new, like, religious folk that are coming through the town, and it seems they're locking down the town a little bit, how does that affect the aspect? And then what we do, evolving. You can evolve an aspect in many ways. The isolation may choose to adapt the face of adversity and let the world change them, or they may double down in their face of doubt, entrenching themselves in their beliefs. When evolving an aspect, you are changing a part of the isolation in response to the world around it. See how the community changes and how it affects the language you make. From this point on, the replaced aspect will no longer be available to build language from, since it has left the previous age. However, words that were defined earlier should still be used in that. Okay, so what do we do? Oh, evolving. As a group, choose an aspect to evolve, decide on a replacement for that aspect, move the other aspects. Okay, so I don't have one in the ready, but each of these would add, I think they would add. Do they add? I'm just looking at the age transitions here for, like, Toy Box Tales. Okay, I think we just have to come up with, it would be aspect 1 would be the new order first. Let's just put it that way. Or if we chose the other way, which was the transition was there's something coming up from the deep stealing our food, and we've now realized that is now it's the aspect 3 is the invaders or something like that. Or we're feeling like we're being invaded, or the raiders, or something like that. So once we've evolved the aspect, we changed it. Now we have our 3 aspects still, and we start our next age. Everybody gets another round of cards. This time from the second part of the deck. Well, right, they got number 2s on them. Now these tend to be a little more action oriented. They're still. But as you can see, they're things like antonyms, pronouns, create a word. And they're more action-oriented, not all of them, but some of them. Where, say I wanted to play antonym. In defining something, we also must consider its opposite. Define a word opposite to one already defined. Make a connection, pick a previously defined word. Explain why the opposite of this word is something of a significance to the isolation. So now we'd say, okay, let's say we have all words out. One word we played with was, the drips, right? The rips. Drips are what we said was the time, the unit of time in the slum. Not slum, sorry, the sewers. We're going to cross this out here. Slum Savvy is now, we're going to pick the new order. Oh, no. Sorry. No. I don't want that one. I want to go the route of something's coming up from the deep. Now, the deep is now the Raiders. Okay. So, Sewer Kings was unit of time, was played on that. Rips was the how we measure time throughout our day. The drips, the constant dripping. Shit, maybe that was New Order. Now that I'm thinking about it. New Order. Because what I'm thinking is antonym we play here. And what is the word for when the drips stop? First time in our lives where the drips are off beat. They're not even coming sometimes. What is that? What's that word? Suddenly we need a word for the absence of our time. And so rip becomes what? And that's the discussion we'd have. And we'd figure out exactly what that word mean. And then opposites meet would be, we choose two characters. Those two characters have a conversation. Something about the opposites meet and how that word plays into it. Or just using the word, period. So you can see everything kind of starts building off. Once you start going and you got these aspects and you start putting down and making these words up, before you know it, you got all these cool reasons to make words and reasons to use the words. At the end of age 2, same thing happens. We up the ante. So, and if it's the new order, then there's fires have started at different places of the sewers, and men have started actually coming down into the sewers. Men with rat catcher nets, and men with fire, because they're cleansing. They need to cleanse the town of its impurities. And so we're hiding, and the new order becomes like we're hiding from them, or maybe that change actually ends up changing the sewer kings instead, because we're no longer kings of the sewer. We're refugees. We're in hiding from the invaders from above, or if we went the other transition, the things from down below have started invading our sewers. So same thing happens where sewer kings become something else. It's the exact same way. We were running refugees or some other cool aspect to the invaders from below. So and then finally, once we've gotten through the third act, we pick a legacy card, or I think we all dealt a legacy card. And at that point, at the end of the last age, the sewers have the guys have come down, the new order, the holy men have come to cleanse this town of all its impurities and disgustingness, have cleansed the sewers. They've killed some of us. They've found us. They've cleared us out. Or the things from the deep have come and done the same thing. Our community has died, or I would say died, or is disbanded. It's gone. It no longer exists. And we each get a legacy card, where we talk let's just. I want to see if there's anything I can just jump right. All right. So each person would get one of these cards, and for example, this one would say, choose one option for your final narrated epilogue. It may be about your character or the isolation as a whole. End your story. An assumption the outsiders made about you, or a feeling of relief in your new life, or the shame that comes with loss. The assumption that the outsiders maybe made about us. They thought we were spreading the disease. Maybe this village had been getting sicker and sicker, and maybe the actual cause of it, their food supplies were getting sick, and maybe it was just some kind of natural disease that was happening to their crops. But they thought it was the disease from the sewers and from us. And when these guys came and cleansed out the sewers and killed us, they thought they fixed it. They assumed that we were the cause of their sickness. But really, because of what we were rats. But in all reality, we're just trying to get by, and in some ways, other than living in the fucking sewer, but in some ways we're just as clean. We never really interact with anybody to make them sick. So I would say that as a character, and then everybody else would react to some of the other cards, of the cards that they have. And then when we walk away, we'd be done. We'd walk away, and the language that we created for our little community that's now gone. And as we walk away, we remember the community, having played the game, but how long after that would that even be gone? And the language we created is no more. And that's the coolest, most poignant part of this game, is just that thought to me. I mean, I love playing with language. I always have. And if you want some really cool, fucking amazing, great examples of playing with language nowadays, is watch The Expanse. Like The Expanse with the Belters. The Belters have made their own patois, or whatever you say it, in their own language, and it's really cool listening to them talk in their own little... They're a perfect example. The Belters of Expanse are an isolated community that came up with their own fucking language. And then the other one, which is a completely different side of the thing, example of playing with language, is Letterkenny. Holy fucking shit. Like, Letterkenny's like 4 or 5 different isolated communities that interact at points, but they're all got their own fucking crazy ass language. Another cool thing is one thought I had about this game in particular is what a great way for, like, and you guys might agree with me, is what a great way to do a session 0. You know what I'm saying? Like, start off like a world. You're like, okay, we're a group of heroes who, and come up with a backdrop for how you guys started and how you're your own little isolated community, and the language that you came up with, and then play this game out and come up with all these fucking words. But instead of ending at the end, like, instead of letting the language die, screw that. Like, start your campaign, and like then all of a sudden you have all these cool words that you've made up, and you know what the meanings are, and you can use them throughout the rest of your adventure. Like what it means to kill somebody, or what it means to be afraid, or all these other, or what it means to be a hero even. And I thought that would be a really cool way to kind of set off any kind of role-playing campaign, really. So that is Dialect. You can check out more at it's thornygames.com. Thorny as in actually thorns, thornygames.com. Yeah. How are we doing? We are early. Did I forget anything about it? No, I didn't. All right. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the show. I've got quite a few parts of this show. Not quite a few, but I got a few. The next part of the show, ladies and gents, thank you for joining me, by the way. Hiya, Turk. Hiya, Precious Paul. Thanks, guys. Kind of got in a roll there talking about this game. It's pretty sweet. I'm going to spend a little bit every episode talking about Star Jumpers. So Star Jumpers, for those of you who don't know, is a role-playing game I've made. It's role-playing, but yes, it's role-playing, but it borrows a lot of story game kind of ideas too. It's a game I'm making for children, specifically. The reason why I'm doing it for children, one, is because this happens to a lot of us. You find a lot of people, parents, who suddenly they have a kid and suddenly they're wanting to write a children's book or make a children's game. So I got a daughter who's 8, and when I was looking around I didn't want to introduce her to Dungeons and Dragons. When I started doing this first, I was like at 5. I was like, I can't do Dungeons and Dragons. So I was looking around for other games. I'd found one on Kickstarter that was pretty good. It's called No Thank You Evil. It's a great little game. But it didn't feel new enough to me. It felt like it was just a kiddie version of Dungeons and Dragons kind of tropes, I guess. And I feel like there's something else there. And when it came down to it, it felt like it really... Well, actually, the one big failing it had is... like, it has the same failing that I feel a lot of role-playing games have, is, especially if you're a parent, is the paradigm is they write the book, and then you get the book, and then it's up to you to create all the fucking adventures, which is awesome if you have a shit ton of time. If you don't have a lot of time, having like some pre-made adventures and shit to be able to throw at your kids, especially if you're a parent, is a fucking godsend. So I was like, well, that's one thing I want to fix, or want to fix in my game. So that's actually a good segue into the 3 principles I decided. When I sat down, I was like, I'm going to make a role-playing game for kids. And good luck. About to start some 7D, 2D. What up? I said I was going to do 3 things. One, I was going to instigate creative problem solving, because the only other games that I'd found for kids for role-playing still revolved around fighting shit. Like, that's the main thing. And when you think about it, 90% of the mechanics for D&D are based around fighting shit. Yes, there's role-playing. It happens. You do fucking perception checks and you do whatever checks. But other than that, everything else is fighting shit. It's not like anybody's got skills for wooing people. You know what I mean? Well, they kind of do, but it's not like spell. Well, I guess the best thing is a wizard's having like charm person and shit like that. That's some cool shit. Anyway, I wanted to instigate creative problem solving. I wanted a role-playing game that didn't take combat completely out of the question. There's still to be, some violence to a degree, but the game isn't based around it. 2, I wanted to make it easy and fun for parents to become game masters, especially parents who are like RPG friendly, but aren't like Dungeons and Dragons like nerds. So that was 2, and then 3, I wanted to deliver the game in an innovative way. So every episode of this, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm just going to share a little bit about Star Jumpers. I'm not going to go on and on about it. The one big thing I want to talk about, I just want to say, is I got a Kickstarter goal that's up here. Once I've had 100 kids play, I'm going to kickstart it. I'm going to, actually, just to let you know, this is kind of my video journal of my road to kickstarting. So if you're interested in game creation, or at least game creation, and then the process of maybe working towards kickstarting or getting it going, then this might be interesting to you. Otherwise, it won't take very long for me to get through this before I get to the next big part of the show. But anyway, my Kickstarter goal is 100 kids. Once I've got 100 kids played, I'm gonna kickstart. I've got 16 so far, with 2 more hopefully pretty soon. And then thank you, Hep Alien, Nair Laser. I'm just reading. I'm catching up. Hey, yeah, we should just have yes. Wherever there's just Dialect talking the whole time, I'm all for that. With Willie. Okay, anyway, back to and then I'm gonna do a weekly goal for myself. So the weekly goal for myself right now, I'm gonna set, and I'm gonna use this as kind of a way to keep my ass on schedule too. My weekly goal is, I've made a mailing list for everybody who's interested in Star Jumpers who isn't necessarily watching me on a regular basis. You can see the info on right there with the right here. You could get the page to go join my mailing list. I'm gonna send out an email list. I got about 60 people on it right now. It's not bad, not awesome, but it's not bad. I'm gonna send out an email announcement this week, talking about how the rules are up and there's a beginner mission that are up and ready for people to play test. I'm also going to post on Board Game Geek and Reddit about the play testing, and then at least find one more place. So next week, I'm going to tell you guys where I did it, how I did it, and then if anybody wants to go to that Reddit post or that Board Game Geek post for me and say, hey, I'd love the play test, just to give it some attention, that'd be fucking awesome. But I'll report back on my progress of that next week. Let's see. If you're interested in the rules, what I'm going to be telling people is to join my Discord. I have a Star Jumpers channel, and in there you can get a link to the Google Docs for the rules. I put them up on Google Docs so people can comment on them if they want, and then I'll get and then the first mission is also in a Google Doc, and then you can download a zip of all the playing materials. More missions are going to be coming. I plan on putting up. I should be putting up a new mission every month. That's the idea. A brand new mission for people to play. And then that's how subbing is going to help. Actually, if you sub, you get access to every new mission that comes out. Non-subs, you just get the first initial mission. And then the subbing is going to help me. That money's going right back into this show, getting more role-playing games, but a lot of these I have. But also into the big expenditure for me for kickstarting Star Jumpers is going to be art. I need some really kick-ass art. That's going to be key. and it could be just really kick-ass box art, because a lot of Star Jumpers is about building your own world. So I don't need a lot of art inside the game, but I need that box to be fucking kick-ass. So that's going to be what I'm saving up for. All subs are going to help towards that, so you'll know that. One last thing about subs before we move on. If you notice over here, guys, I have a subscribers to unlock glitch job board. That little fucking thing. Did I get some subs while I wasn't paying attention? Oh, you guys were resubbing. Thank you so much. Fuck yeah. Thank you so much, guys. So what this means is, once I set a goal, because but this doesn't mean it has to be, I have to wait till 15. I'm going to start after this week. I'm going to put up in Discord. What I want to do is start probably monthly, but if I get enough people, I'll do it weekly. I want the Lich really wants to run one shots, and I want to do it just for subscribers. I want to do start off with a month. The job board is going to be him posting. Here's 3 different adventure types, 3 different game systems, maybe even. Whoever wants to sign up for them, sign up. We will nail the date. Maybe I'll have dates on them too. If you can make that date and you want to be part of that game, you'll sign on. I think at first we just do Discord, like you'll be voices and the Lich will be. And when I say Lich, I'm going to get all fucking made up, because I think it'd be super fun. And we do a one-shot one night on a Friday or Saturday or whatever starts looking like it's best for subscribers. And I want to do that for subscribers. If I could do it once a week, it'd be perfect. Once a month, that's cool too. But I want to kind of set a goal of how many subscribers, so that so there's a pool of people who can actually do it. I think that'd be super fun. Yeah, boy, I'm gonna be paying some attention. Okay, so that's another one of my goals for next week. Next week I will announce that there are some new jobs. Wait, no, I'm supposed to unlock the job board. I can't do that. I gotta stick by what I'm saying here. All right, you know what? I'm gonna put on Discord. I'm gonna see how many of y'all are interested. If I get 4 people who are down to play DTP, then on a date, then we'll open up the job. We'll do a special job. Okay, all right. So that's that. We're gonna move on real quick to speaking of our boy the Lich. We gotta cut over to a little bit of dungeon news. So I'll catch you in just a moment.
Hello, monsters. I'm the Lich, and it's time for dungeon news. Are you ready? I need a group of volunteers for the yearly cleaning of Oh Shit, It's a Dragon's Lair. That's right, I need volunteers to visit level 8. Whoa, lower your hands, I know what you're going to ask me. There is still a strict no touchy the treasure rule, okay? Y'all remember Harry? Yeah, we miss Harry. Let's not be Harry. Okay, that said, we are paying 2 gold pieces per monster, and a bonus gold piece for every monster that keeps their sticky paws off the treasure. Alright? So, Oh Shit, the Dragon's gonna be leaving next weekend to, do whatever his dragons do. Burn down a village or something. So we got a couple days to clean up several mountains of dragon poop and a carpet of molted scales. Which reminds me of rule number 2. No eating the scales. Alright? Remember Satagora? Yeah, he's not dead. But he had terrible heartburn, right? Terrible. He woke us up all night, thrashing, moaning. What was it he kept yelling? Calaxis regretamorium! Calaxis regretamorium! Yeah, I have photographic memory. Anyway, it was terrible. Calaxis regretamorium. Why does that sound familiar? That's, Anyway, that's the news, monsters. Feel the dungeon.
All right, welcome back. So that's the Lich. He's going to be giving his little news update every episode. There'll be a new one. So tune in to check that out at the middle point of every show. So we just passed up the middle part of the very first show. Now we're going to move in the second part of the show, which I'm kind of geeked about. I'm a big fan of all role-playing games, most role-playing games. I haven't played all of them, obviously, but I played a lot. And one I've been geeking on a lot is Dungeon Crawl Classics. The Dungeon Crawl Classics is this big, beautiful baby right here. It's a lot like old school D&D with kind of like a modern kind of feel to it. It's if you'd ever played Redbox D&D, then this is familiar, except that it doesn't feel old at all. And the one thing I love about there's a lot of little things about it that I love, and that you're going to find out in our little journey. We're going to take a journey through it. Because one of the other things I love about it, I'm a big fan of role playing, but I'm a big fan of adventures and creativity and art. And they still put out adventures like the old school way. The old school, you get a module, and they were called modules. And it was a one adventure and a cool little booklet. And you play it, and you could add it into your campaign or string them together to make a campaign out of them. And what's cool about it, instead of the big books that 5th edition does, which aren't bad, and they're cool, I kind of liked that they went that way because it kind of feels pretty cool. But it also feels really dense, right? You're like, holy fuck, how to get through Tales of the Waterdeep one? I've got Waterdeep Heist. I've got, I love Strahd, dude. Oh fuck, Ravenloft is the best ever. My Ravenloft module is my most prized possession. I've had that module for fucking ever. The very first one, I love it. But anyway, Dungeon Crawl Classics keeps that soul, but then ups the ante on it with some fucking badass, punky art, fantasy art, and every map is a love fest of cool, like here's a map of the prison that you end up going on. So here's what I want to do. I want to introduce a new Dungeon Crawl Classic adventure to y'all every oh hey, thank you, Air Laser. Booyah. Paul too? Thank you so much for the bits, guys. So what I'm going to do is each episode I'm going to introduce a new Dungeon Crawl Classics, but I'm going to do it with a twist. We're going to play, I'm not going to play out, I used to run a stream where I'd actually play the adventures. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but what I am going to do is we're going to carry a little party story through each of the adventures. So I'm going to introduce a cool ass adventure to you. I'm going to introduce some characters tonight, and we're going to follow their little adventures throughout. And throughout it all, you're going to learn some of the cool things about the system, but you're going to see some really fucking great, cool thinking and adventures. I did want to say on the whole topic of pre-made versus making up your own adventures. I've done both. I'm a big fan of both, and for different reasons. Sometimes you want to just have something you can run that's pre-prepared. Sometimes you need something to stick in the middle of a campaign. Sometimes you just want to go off. You got your own fucking story in your head, and that's awesome too. But the big thing is another thing other than just having this around to be able to use it whenever you want and drop it is that there's some incredibly cool writers and thinkers out there creating some incredibly cool stuff, and checking out this stuff might give you inspiration. It definitely has for me inspiration for your own adventures, so it's definitely worth checking out, even if you don't plan on playing a pre-made. Dungeon Crawl Classics has this cool little system called they start with the funnel. Some people don't like it because I'll tell you why. Very few people don't like it. It's the funnel is where when you first start your campaign, everybody gets, and just for sake of standardization, 4 characters. 4 0-level characters. As you can see here, this is Dungeon Crawl Classics Hole in the Sky by one of my favorite adventure writers, Brendan J. LaSalle. You're going to see his name pop up more because I love the guy. He's the one who introduced me to this, and he's got some really cool shit kickstarting in the spring that I'm going to be bringing straight to your fucking Twitch. And the drunk boys are going to hear all about it. But this adventure is a level 0 adventure. Okay, level 0 means every single person gets a sheet, maybe like this, where you have 4 characters. All right. I'm not going to go into explain the mechanics too much, but they're not too far from D&D. You have your stats: strength, agility, stamina, personality, intellect, and luck. Except you have luck. And then, armor class, you have saving throws, shit like that. No big surprise. But you get 4 characters. These are all normal-ass peasants, okay? Like, our characters that we're starting with tonight are Calf, the beekeeper, okay? We have Fobar, the turnip farmer. We have Marden, the halfling chicken butcher. And then we have Illirin, the elven glassblower, okay? These are just regular-ass people who are about to go on an adventure they have no fucking business being on, and most of them are going to die. And that's what some people don't like about the funnel. And that's what that guy on TT2KB had the other night. He was like, I don't like it because one of my favorite characters died. Yeah, granted, that's okay. But the point of the funnel is that, and I think it's fun, is I don't know which one of these fuckers is going to live. And, you know what I mean? I might be like, yeah, I really like the guy here, but he's only got 2 fucking hit points. But the guy with 5, I'm like, okay, he's the one that's going to live. But then he ends up fucking dying. And then at the end of the funnel adventure, you got maybe 1 guy or 2. Usually you got 2. And then the next adventure, they level up. And when you level up, that's when you choose your class. So Fulbar, the turnip farmer, becomes Fulbar, the warrior, or Fulbar, the cleric. And the classes are your basic thief, cleric, wizard, warrior, and then, or is warrior? Yeah, warrior. And then this is old school D&D right here. The elf, dwarf, and halflings aren't classes. They're elf is elf, dwarf is dwarf, halfling is a halfling, and they all have their own skills and abilities. But that's basically your class / race. But you level up. So now I'm like, if Calf and Fulbar live, our next adventure, we're playing with those two. They've leveled up to level 1, and one of them might die because it's brutal from 0 level, 1 level. And then what happens is 5th level, 6th level, 7th level is like godly in Dungeon Crawl Classics. And there's all these other cool things that happen throughout the way that don't happen in other systems too, but we'll get to that. But these are our adventures here. This is who we're starting with tonight. And I'm going to you're going to help me through this, all right? I'm going to explain, I'm going to just kind of give you an overview, and there's going to be fucking spoilers because I don't give a shit. But there's going to be spoilers of this module because I want to take you guys kind of through just some of the high points of it. And through it, we're going to decide on the fate of these people. Hole in the Sky. Calf, Fulbar, Marden, Illirin, they don't know each other. Never met in their entire lives. And in fact, they live in completely different places in the lands. But they all share one thing. Their whole lives, and this is part of the adventure, okay? Their whole lives, they've always felt like out of place. Like they didn't really fit in. And not your normal teensy, angsty way, but now literally it really kind of like a voice in the back of their head said that they were meant for something else. They weren't supposed to be here, wherever here is, in their little village, doing their little jobs or whatever it is they're doing. In the last few weeks, that feeling has actually bubbled up, and a lot of it's due to these dreams they keep having of this woman in blue. And she's on this edge of a cliff, and she keeps calling for them, saying that you must come to me. You're meant for something else. And it gets so bad in their daily lives that they can't concentrate. They can't do anything. They're having trouble in their normal lives, doing their jobs with their wives, their kids, whatever. Until one day, all of them together. And this might be, when you play, you have like 16 of them because you have like 4 players and each one has 4 people. So there's like 16 people. You just get up one morning and you fucking leave. You just start walking. Maybe you pack a little bag. Maybe you didn't even think about it. You just start walking because the dream and the voice and everything in your head has just been pounding and getting so bad that you just take off and leave. You don't know where, but you know where. You're going to that cliff where that lady in blue is. And you all start going. And it's like, and you're like in a fever state. Bandits might accost you on the road, and they see you, and they look at your eyes, and you're like, oh, fuck, this guy's a madman, and they just let you go, because they don't know what the fuck. The Marden, the halfling chicken butcher, is like crazed. His eyes are crazed, and like no one messes him, or he hides in the bushes all the time. He's always moving. Eventually, all 16 people, you find yourself, you look around, kind of come out of a day's sleep, and you notice all these other people, these other 15 people around you, and you're coming up in the cliff, and there she is the lady in blue, standing at the edge of this cliff, miles and miles and miles away from all your worlds. And she turns around, she's holding something in her hand. What she's holding in her hand are 4 severed heads. And she looks at it, and it looks like almost like her face is kind of stone. And then she talks to you, but she doesn't talk to you. She talks to you through the mouths of the 4 severed heads, and they start talking to you. And they start, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to answering my call. You all must be very hungry. Eat. And that's when you realize there's this huge table in front of her, and of all these kinds of food, and you're starving because you've been walking for days and you hadn't ate at all. And then, but what's weird is in between all the good food on the table, it's full of great food. In between all the good food is all this rotten food too. And one of the things that, as a DM, what I ask people if they have to eat is, does anybody try the rotten food? And we mark down, does anybody try the rotten food? Does anybody here try the rotten food, you think? Let's pull this shit up. I'm actually not going to run an official poll. We'll just do an unofficial poll. Marden. All right. Marden, the halfling chicken butcher, who doesn't mind... and the farmer, too. Okay. We're going to X this. And the farmer. So after everybody's ate, the woman goes on and starts telling a story Well, she starts telling everybody that there are these forces, this opposition that is her opposition as well, that is their opposite, your opposition, who's kept you from the lives you've been destined to lead. And together with her, you're going to help. She's going to help break you out of that by having you spin, and the whole sky rips open in front of you, and revealed in the sky is like the cosmos. In the middle of it is this gigantic wheel, this like stone-looking wheel that just kind of revolves, and you can see marks on it, like runes on it. It's gigantic. It's just there. It's like, and she says, if you help me, I will allow you to spin the wheel of destiny. And whatever the wheel of destiny comes back will change your life and destiny forever. And then the sky goes back to normal. She says, well, I need you to help rescue another soldier in our fight against these evil forces. Will you help me? And then we everybody gets a chance to decide, if any of their characters leave or whatnot. And let's say this half orc, no, fuck, too much D&D. There's no half orcs in fucking this dwarf. This dwarf's like, and this other group's like, fuck it, I'm out of here. I'm not this crazy forehead thing that's talking to me. I don't want anything to do it. So he leaves. Okay, bye, see ya. The rest of you, you've already been on it. You're like, you've already kind of said you're in on this. You say, okay, yeah, we're gonna do that. She goes, great. She goes, good. There is a person who's in prison. Don't ever say her name, and then that name appears in the ground. It says Drizda. She goes, do never say the name aloud, because then the other forces will hear you. But you must rescue this person in a dimension far away. And to get there, you're going to have to walk across an invisible bridge. At midnight, the bridge will appear. You will not be able to see it, but you'll have to take a step of faith and walk across the bridge to find the hole in the sky that'll lead to the prison where the other person is being kept. And so we all sign on to go rescue this. Now like I said, we're 15 starved fucking peasants that have never ever been anywhere in our lives, right? We're turnip farmers, beekeepers, glassblowers. So midnight comes, lady disappears. Midnight comes, we have to decide to go on the bridge. Somebody maybe one of our party's the first one to step on the bridge. Want to guess? You want to pick? All right, Illerin steps on the bridge. Well, actually, we'll just do this. So Illerin is, he's chaotic. So alignments, by the way, in DCC are good, good, neutral, and chaos. No, it's not good. It's law. I fucked that up. It's law. Law, chaos, and neutral are their alignments. Each one has their own sets of gods and shit like that, all that other kind of stuff. And chaos, so it's not so much evil as chaos is basically you just give a shit about yourself, for the most part. So Illinorin's the first one on, and he steps off the cliff, and boom, he's on solid ground, even though it's invisible. And by searching off around, it's about 20-foot wide bridge, and they start heading out, and somebody's in front with a 50-foot pole or 10-foot pole checking out. They're walking across this bridge, and we go for fucking miles. Someone checks behind us at one point later in the day. It's midnight, so in early morning, someone tries going back and finds that the bridge is disappearing behind us. So we're constantly walking, and now the land is gone, and we're like a mile and a half above the ocean. So we're just a mile and a half above the ocean on an invisible fucking bridge, just heading to who God knows where, right? About a day and a half later of traveling, we come upon a shipwreck down on some shoals, like a mile and a half down. That is covered with these looks like birds. As we get closer, the birds take note of us, and suddenly this flock of these, they start flying up, and they're not normal birds. They're like giant demon fucking birds that start coming up, and they attack us. And like I said, we've got pitchforks, staff, hammers, hand axe. It's brutal. Someone gets dragged off and eaten. And this I do have a pull for. Let's pull this shit. Somewhere. Here we go. There we go. There. We got a pull at the top of the page. This person's gonna die. We need to cull the group. We got a tie. We got a tie, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna make me fucking... Okay, good. Good. I was gonna say you're gonna make me pick. Oh, I like how I'm... Oh, it's because I'm a little transparent. Alright, so looks like Calf is gonna die. Here, I'm just gonna seal the deal. Calf, the beekeeper, he tries to run as one of the other people had come with a pony and had decided to leave because he never wanted to leave his pony friend alone. And the birds grab one of the ponies, and when they grab the pony and the pony's screaming, Calf is so freaked out he goes running, and he goes running off by alone back the way they came. And one of the birds comes over and gets him, and everybody hears him screaming all the way down. And once they have the pony and the beekeeper, they're satisfied. They all go down to start feasting on him. So we all start heading as fast as we can away from this. And then a day later, there's a storm, and we all get kind of sick. I know some of us might get sick. We have to roll our stamina to make sure we don't, if we get sick or not. And it lowers our hit points a little bit. Finally, we hit the end of the bridge, and we don't know what to do because the bridge is ended. And then the other side's ended. It's only like 60 feet. We're stuck on this little piece of translucent bridge, and or a mile and a half over the ocean, nowhere to go. And it takes another day before we see something in the distance. It's like a little circle. And as we get closer, it's getting bigger and bigger until finally it hits the end of the bridge, and it's a portal to another world. We can see a magenta sky and green things, and we're so happy to be off the fucking bridge that we jump right in there. And we find ourselves in another world, a world with tall bamboo-like green stalks. And off in the distance is this huge, looks like a huge seed tower. It's like 300-foot spiny seed pod that it's like a monolith, huge thing off in the distance. We travel through, maybe we have a random encounter, maybe we don't. It's more people, but we do. These crazy fucking demon spiders attack us and kill a bunch of other people. And now we're down to 8 people. And we find ourselves finally at the door of this thing. There's this road that led there. And in there, this thing here. And the door is like 30 feet high. And it's huge. And there's like a foot difference between the bottom of the door and the ground. And it's too big for us to unlock. Even the handle's too big. It's something gigantic lives in this thing. For sake of just getting through this, we decide to crawl underneath the door. There's might be other ways in or whatever. You'd have to play the adventure to find them, but you decide to crawl in. And inside, it's a big hollowed area. And we find this giant, this titan, this incredibly huge beast across one part of the sitting across from us, sleeping. Seems to be in some kind of slumber. There are these gigantic, like 3-foot long glow bugs with they have brains instead of heads. They're just like, they look like brains. Not that we've ever seen a fucking brain before, but it looks like a brain, and they're glowing. That's what gives the light of the room. They're just like lazily flying around. And at first, we're all kind of dazed, and we walk up and get as close as we can and not be afraid of this titan. And that's when someone else dies. One of these other people is going to die. We must cull. Is it Illyrin? Is it Phobar? Or is it Marden? Now, who is left is who's going to continue on into our next adventure. Or if you guys want, we can roll it off. We'll do a D10. What the fuck is a D10? I need a D10. I got a D10 over here. Got lots of D10s. Phobar? Phobar the turnip farmer. That leaves us with... Wait. Oh, no. That leaves us with Marden and Illyrin. Alright, we need one more vote. Phobar or Marden? Yes? This would be one of the nerds that ate the rotten food. Alright, if we don't get another vote, I'm going to roll it off between those two. We'll let the dice decide. 1 to 10, it's Phobar. Oh shit, Marden dies. the halfling. So, the halfling dies in the most gruesome manner. Suddenly, as we're staring, we're all entranced by this gigantic thing, this gigantic whatever it is that's sleeping. I mean, it's like 100 foot fucking tall. It's snoring. Its snores reverberate around us like a big rhythm. We're all staring at it, and that's when we hear Martin scream. The most horrifying scream. In fact, some of the people shit their pants immediately. That's how horrifying the scream is. And we whip around, and Martin is in the kind of claws, is in the arms, I'll say arms, of this incredibly huge pumpkin. And its stalks are like its legs and its arms. It's got them wrapped around him. It's got demonic eyes and this thing's like, it's humongous. Not as big as the Titan, but it's very large. And there's this demonic green fire burning in its eyes and in its mouth. And it grabs him, and it's pulled off one of his arms. And it's just sitting there while the halfling's screaming. And it's just looking. And then it says very calmly, "It's time for you to leave." And then, before we can respond, he scuttles back up above the door where he was hiding, and where we can see him. And he begins pulling off more of the halfling's arms and staring at us. And before the halfling can faint, he puts them in his mouth and begins to chew and gnash on him while we're watching. Puke. Everyone's freaked out, shitting their pants, puking. You need to find somewhere to go right fucking now, because this thing told you need to leave. So luckily, we're going to fast forward a little bit. Luckily, you find somewhere to hide and somewhere to go, and our characters find themselves up at the top, because up above the Titan was a cage, just hanging up there, attached to something. They find themselves all the way up there, and maybe we're lucky. Maybe one of these two, who was it that died? Martin died, right? Yeah, Martin. Let's say it was, because it feels more like full. Well, we'll vote if you want. Hey, Heroic, welcome back to Dungeon Crawl Classics, bub. Pick Heroic. I need you to pick Fobar or Illirin to be the Titan Slayer. He went out like he came in small bits and all over the place. Damn right. We gotta pour one out. Can I get some F's in chat for Martin? F's in chat for Martin. So, Fobar somehow has found this ancient spear. And, long story short, Illirin opens the cage and lets loose the prisoner that the lady in blue asked them to come and rescue. Who, when she escapes from the cage, becomes this demonic kind of demon thing. She basically erupts from the cage in fury and wild chaos. And the first thing she does is she descends upon the pumpkin demon monster that's been harassing the players this whole time, and just rips them to shred. Just blows them up. There's pumpkin everywhere and demonic fire everywhere. Meanwhile, the Titan has woken up, and in a last-ditch effort, Fobar has fallen and fell. Wait, it is Fobar, right? No, Illidan. Wait, who did you pick? Fobar. Fobar falls on the Titan with this spear that was, but unbeknownst to him, designed specifically to kill the Titan. And he stabs the Titan in its heart, and its death throes. The demon woman winged creature grabs him saving him before he dies. And Illirin and Fobar are the only ones left out of the 16 or 15 that came. And she flies them at breakneck speed, nursing them, telling them little sweet chaos nothings that they are her special little ones, and she would always remember them and maybe call upon them at some other time. And she whips them out of the seed pod while the seed pod collapses, and takes them to the hole. Actually bursts through the reality of that other plane, and they find themselves dropped on the cliff at the feet of the lady in blue, who's still standing there who's standing there holding four new heads, one of which was that dwarf that left, that decided he did not want to help the lady. And she tells them that Fobar and Illirin, she's overjoyed that they helped them, the cause, helped release this defender for them against the other evil ones who are fucking with their lives, and that they have won their right to roll on the Wheel of Destiny. So the end of this adventure, I love this fucking adventure because it's like the best start to a campaign ever, because you actually roll on the Wheel of Destiny. You get modifications based on a few things that you did throughout. Awesome. Thank you for the 100 bits, bud. That's so awesome. So the Wheel of Destiny table, and then the module tells you do something cool with a roll. You're like, maybe you toss the D20 against the wall and wherever, or you roll it down a slope, or you throw it behind you, or you do something special with this roll. And then depending on, let's see, who do we have? We have Illarin left and Fobar left. Fobar, what did he ate? Okay, Fobar ate spoiled food, so he actually gets +1 on the roll. Illarin was the first one to step on the invisible bridge. He gets +2 on the roll. And then Illarin also opened the cage to free Drizda. He also gets another +2 on the roll. Yep. So we're going to roll, and then to give you an example, we're going to roll for these two, and that'll be kind of the end of the session. All right, I got a D20 here. No frills, no thrills. We're going to check this out. All right. Oh, shit. Never mind. Because I didn't call. We got to do something special here. All right, so this is Fobar's roll. We'll do this die. Yeah, this will be Fobar. This will be Illarin's because he's an elf. I don't know. I connect green with elves. All right. Well, technically, I shouldn't be able to either. Oh, no. Haha. Look at, no. Invisible dice. All right. All right, here we go. Rolling for Illarin, the elfin glassblower. He gets +4 on this roll. And we roll a 19. Stars completely change. The character receives a permanent +2 to his luck score, re-rolls his birth augur, lucky roll twice, and chooses which of the three to keep. Okay. Also, they chooses one of their ability scores and re-rolls it, keeping the new score if it's higher than the old one. The character's identity changes significantly. They age ±1d4 years. They might be of new family, city, or even a different part of the country. It can have major physical changes, even changing gender. They also choose a new occupation for themselves, as if they'd had that occupation for their entire life. This might even change the character's race. Any previously known skills belonging to that previous profession are lost. The character is now a completely different person and unrecognizable to anyone who knew him before or her before he rolled the Wheel of Destiny. So we can decide right now what we want Illarin to be. And he gets luck. Okay, so Illarin's luck is a 3. All right, that's a -3 modifier. Here's one thing about DCC that's fucking great is luck. Luck is cool because you can burn it to add to your rolls. So if you have, like, say 14 luck, you can say, okay, I'm rolling, and then after you roll, you can be like, I'm going to burn some luck to add. I needed a 15, and I rolled a 14, or I rolled even a 10. I could burn 5 luck to make that roll. However, the trick is, if you don't get that luck back. Once you burn it, it's all fucking gone forever. So you got 14 luck. If he's got 3 luck, he burns it. He got 0 luck. He's got 0 luck for the rest of his life. However, halflings and rogues thieves break that. Halflings and thieves regenerate their luck, and halflings will be able to spend their own luck to help other people. So it's always good to have a halfling and a thief around because they can spend their luck and can get it back. So Illarin, we need a. Does he stay elven? Do we want to make him dwarven? Do we want to make him halfling? Do we want to make him some other fucking? Do we want to make him human? Let's see. Let's make a. Does he change his alignment too? First off, I'm going to receive the +2 to his luck score, rerolls his birth augur, and lucky roll twice. Okay. So, oh, that's down here, lucky sign. So everybody, when you roll up a character, you roll a sign, and then you get, based on that sign, you might get bonuses. Like his lucky sign is born under the loom. His skill checks, including thief, he are at -3 because his luck is so fucking bad. But we can, let's see, chooses one of their ability scores and re-rolls it, keeping the new score. He's not that bad at stamina and personality, so we're gonna re-roll luck, 3d6, and we're gonna add that +2 to it. Yeah, no kidding. So 6, 7, 8, and then, what does it say? I can roll it twice? No. All right. So 6, 7, 8. Look at those double fucking. Oh, you missed it. Double fucking ones. But 8 plus 2 is 10. So that's way better than fucking 3, right? And that puts his luck at 0. So we'll just do this. I'll make note and change it later. And then I don't know what's gonna happen with him. But we're gonna roll for Fobar. Fobar gets +2 in this roll, and he's gonna roll a different d20. Wheel of Destiny. The sky rips open, and the giant stone wheel floating in the cosmos is turning. And 17 plus 2 is 19. So he gets basically everything that happened to Illirin. Those are really great rolls. His only thing is he doesn't change his race, or he just gets his permanent +2 to luck. 12. He gets a reroll and ability score, but his ability scores are actually pretty not bad. I mean, he's got all zeros, but what should we reroll? Anybody want to? Every party needs a gnome puppet. Yeah, you're absolutely fucking right. You know, Turk, it's going to be hard to say goodbye to Zidilak. Is Zidilak just going to reclass? Because that would be sweet. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. We're going to reroll. We're going to reroll and then pick one to be 7, 8. That's a shitty... I'm a crappy reroller. I don't know. He's not. None of his fucking stats are going to go up. That sucks. But whatever. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. So, as you can see, I got a little changes. You know what? I'm going to leave this up when we come back to these guys, which will be in 2 adventures. You're going to see a little bit of difference with Fobar and Illirin. The reason why we're going to not see these guys for 2 weeks is next week I'm going to introduce you guys to another funnel adventure, a classic Dungeon Crawl Classics funnel adventure called Sailors of the Starless Sea. And we're going to end up with 2 other zero levels that are going to survive that. And then that's going to form our 4-player group. And then we're going to continue on with level 1. I've got level 1 modules, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8. So we're going to see where this takes us. Oh, the art on Sailors is the shit, dude. I love this. God, okay, so what's cool is what you're missing is all the art that's in the module itself. Reminds me of the old... Oh, check this map out. So this is the kind of maps I'm talking about. All the maps are drawn like this kind of shit. Super, super cool. So we'll be taking some new people through there. Thank you very much for joining me on Fobar and Illirin's trip. We're going to enter in... Let's see, where are we at? 11:30. So an hour and a half. All right. I didn't know how long this was going to take. But we're going to end it up with a little news from our stream team. I got little notes up. So I want to take this time to just focus on what's going on in the stream team. But more from a story standpoint is the idea. So you guys know that... Where'd you go? Okay. Next up, Saturday night is Everstorm on TT2KB. All right. Their game has just hit a major turning point. The heroes Balron, Fulcrum, Skeezer, Morgaine, and Kodo have finally encountered the dread pirate Pog. I think you say it Pog. Pogu? Prague. It'd be Pog. That this dread pirate has terrorized the coasts, enslaving people, and he's trapped them. He captured the heroes and trapped them far, far away from where they started. But through some unscrupulous ways and tricky and devious ways, the heroes have captured the pirate in hopes of forcing him to return them to where they came from. But they find out, dun dun dun, plot twist, it wasn't the dread pirate that's been doing all this. It was in fact his devil bride that was responsible for all the bad shit. So now the party's leaving the compound with the Dread Pirate in tow and fleeing the wrath of this she-devil. And so we'll pick up right where that leaves off this Saturday on TT2KB, which I think is at 10 CST, 11 Eastern. Yeah, 11 Eastern, 9 Pacific. Check out TT2KB to check out when Neverstorm is. Then, later that Saturday night, you can swing over and catch me on Tales from the Dungeon. I'll be playing the campaign for Pathfinder Adventure card game, Curse of the Crimson Throne. Hakon, Linny, and Fumbus, the alchemist goblin who's dying, he hasn't died yet. They're undergoing these incredible trials in order to enlist the help of this barbarian tribe. Last time, they had to get swallowed by this giant fire-breathing worm and cut their way out. They survived, and they have yet another fucking trial they have to go through. Then, Sunday is Drunks and Dragons on the Grouch Couch, of course. Starting at 6 p.m. this time for a very special PvP event between Hep Alien and Tapeworm, which I'm very incredibly excited about. Looking forward to see how that rolls out. And then they're going to continue on their next installment of their campaign, where Damzik the Rogue, Tapeworm the Bard, and Zidilak the Warlock are searching for the pieces of this ancient set. Turk, is it an ancient set of armor? Is that an appropriate way to say it? They're looking for this ancient set of armor, and they've got most of the pieces. But if one person wears all the pieces, they'll go totally evil. That's my understanding of it. So you know that shit's gonna happen. But they're really close to finding them all, and we're gonna see how much closer they get this Sunday. And that, of course, is on at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then for those of you on YouTube, I'm gonna be including the links to all this shit down in the diddly-doo. And I think that's going to end us for tonight's episode. Thank you very much for joining me in the very first Viva La Dungeon. Next week, I will be talking about... Okay, guys, get this. I didn't mean this to happen, but I'm going to be introducing you to a story game called Puppet Land. No shit. It's fucking dark, and it involves everyone playing with some sort of puppet. It's a classic story game. It's really awesome, and the art is fucking awesome in that one too. And then we will be joining, like I said, Sailors of the Starless Sea. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. And I will be checking you. Hey, Turk, are you streaming tonight? Are you guys going to be on? Because if so, I'll probably be seeing you guys there. If not, I'll see you tomorrow night with Willie on the Grouch Couch Games. Sweet. I'll probably see you guys then. Y'all have a great night. Viva la Dungeon!